She stood in front of me, eyes darting everywhere but my face. Her voice wavered as she said the words I'll never forget. I need a break to figure out what I want. It wasn't loud, it wasn't cruel, but it hit me harder than if she'd screamed in my face. I sat there stunned, trying to piece together what I'd done wrong. 1,000 questions fought to get out of my mouth, but all I managed to say was, "Take all the time you need." She seemed relieved, like I had just handed her a hall pass to chase whatever fantasy was pulling at her. She kissed my cheek, packed a bag, and left. No promises, no timeline, just a vague "I'll be back when I know." At first I was gutted. Nights blurred into mornings, my apartment echoing with silence that felt heavier than her absence. I kept replaying our last conversation, looking for hidden meaning in every word. Friends tried to console me, telling me breaks rarely end with people getting back together. But I clung to hope, the kind that hurts more than it heals. The weeks turned into months. Each day I checked my phone less. Each night I found myself thinking about her a little less. By the third month, something shifted. I realized she hadn't just asked for space, she'd asked me to press pause on my own life while she figured hers out, and I had agreed. That realization burned. So, I started saying yes to things I'd always put off. I signed up for a gym membership, started going on hikes, took on extra projects at work. I even reconnected with old friends, people I'd drifted away from because I was too busy revolving around her. Somewhere in that process, I met Claire. She wasn't flashy, not the kind of person who demanded attention the second she walked into a room. Instead, she radiated calm. Our first conversation lasted 3 hours, and by the end of it, I felt something I hadn't in years seen. Truly seen. I didn't rush it. After being blindsided once, I wanted to be careful. But the more time we spent together, the more I realized that Claire wasn't just filling a void, she was building something new with me. By the 5th month, I wasn't looking at the door waiting for my ex to walk back through it. I was looking ahead at a future I actually wanted. Then, 6 months later, just when I had stopped checking over my shoulder, I got a text. "I've made a mistake. Can we talk?" My chest tightened, but not from longing. This time it was something else. Anticipation, maybe even amusement. Because for once, I wasn't the one waiting. She was. When her text came through, I just stared at the screen for a minute. "I've made a mistake. Can we talk?" 6 months ago, I would have dropped everything, grabbed my keys, and driven to her place before she changed her mind. But this time, my fingers didn't even twitch. Instead, I laughed. Not cruelly, not bitterly, just a quiet laugh at how different everything felt now. I wasn't the man she left behind. I showed Claire the message later that evening. She glanced at it, then looked at me. "So, what are you thinking?" "I think she's about to find out she doesn't have a spot here anymore," I said, sliding my arm around Claire's shoulders. She smiled, not insecure, not threatened. "Well, if you're going to meet her, I should probably come along." Better she sees it than imagines it. And that was one of the many reasons I loved her. She didn't play games. She didn't need to compete. She just knew where we stood. We agreed to meet at a small cafe downtown, the same one my ex and I used to frequent back when we thought forever was a guarantee. I picked the spot on purpose. I wanted the symbolism. When I arrived, she was already there. She stood up quickly, her face lighting up with relief. For a split second, I saw the woman I used to know, the one I had once thought I couldn't live without. Then I remembered the 6 months of silence, the empty bed, the unanswered questions, and I felt nothing but distance. "You came," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I did," I replied, keeping my tone even. She reached for my hand like no time had passed. I didn't move. She hesitated, then sat back down, her smile faltering. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I realized I made a huge mistake. I thought I needed space, but what I really needed was you." I nodded slowly, letting her talk. She leaned forward, eager, her eyes wide. "I miss us. I miss you. We can fix this, right?" I could have strung her along, could have let her ramble on about regret, about how she'd finally figured it out. But instead, I glanced at the door. Claire was walking in, calm and radiant as ever. My ex's head turned and confusion flickered across her face. I stood up, smiled, and said, "Perfect timing. I want you to meet someone." Claire walked over and I slipped my arm around her waist. My ex's jaw dropped, as if the universe had just shifted under her feet. "This is Claire," I said warmly. The color drained from her face. She whispered. I smiled, leaning back. "Yeah, and actually, we were hoping you could help us. We need a wedding planner." The silence at the table stretched long enough for the clinking of mugs and the hiss of the espresso machine to feel deafening. My ex blinked, her eyes darting between me and Claire, as if she was trying to wake up from a dream. "You're engaged?" she finally stammered, her voice cracking. But it's only been 6 months. We just needed a break." I tilted my head. "No, you needed a break. I needed honesty, and you walked away." Her face twisted, the polished confidence she always carried splintering. "I didn't walk away. I just needed space. That's normal. People do that all the time. You were supposed to wait for me." Claire stayed quiet, her hand resting lightly on mine under the table, grounding me. I looked at my ex and said calmly, "And while you were figuring yourself out, I figured myself out too. Turns out what I needed wasn't someone unsure of me. What I needed was someone who wanted to build a future with me." That's Claire. That's when the dam broke. Her eyes filled with tears, and her voice rose an octave. "This isn't fair. We're supposed to get married, have kids, everything we dreamed about. Dreams don't work if only one person is awake." I cut in gently. She stared at me like I had slapped her. The tears spilled over, and suddenly she was begging, her words tumbling out like an avalanche. "Please, just give me another chance. I'll do better. I'll prove it. Can't just throw away everything we had." Claire finally spoke, her voice steady but kind. "He's not throwing anything away. You did that when you decided he wasn't enough the first time." My ex's head snapped toward her, her expression shifting from desperate to furious in an instant. "Stay out of this. You don't know us." Claire didn't flinch. "You're right. I don't know who you used to be to him, but I know who he is with me. And I'm not going anywhere." That was the moment my ex realized she had lost. Not because Claire had won some competition, but because I had moved on completely, heart, mind, and soul. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, muttering, "This can't be happening." I leaned back in my chair, feeling something I hadn't in a long time. Peace. It is happening. And it's time we both accept it. You found out what you wanted. So did I. We're just not part of each other's futures anymore. She stood abruptly, the chair screeching against the floor, drawing glances from nearby tables. With one last broken look, she grabbed her bag and stormed out, tears streaking her cheeks. Claire squeezed my hand, smiling softly. "You okay?" I exhaled slowly, watching the door swing shut behind her. More than okay. For the first time in years, I felt like I had finally closed a chapter that was never meant to last. The cafe scene should have been the end, but of course it wasn't. A week later, my phone lit up again, this time with a string of messages from an unknown number, but the tone gave her away instantly. "I'm sorry about how I acted. I wasn't ready to see you move on. I really do love you. Please don't marry her yet. Just give us a chance to fix things. 6 months isn't enough to erase years together. You'll regret this." "I know you will." I didn't reply. Claire saw the texts, glanced at me, and simply said, "Block it." That's the kind of person she was. Secure, unshaken. She trusted me because I had given her every reason to. And so I blocked the number. But then she tried another route. Mutual friends started reaching out, hesitant texts like, "Hey, she's really not doing well. Maybe just talk to her once for closure." Closure. Funny word. She'd had all the closure in the world when she packed her bags and walked away. I sent a single response to one mutual friend. "I wish her the best. My life is moving forward." After that, the messages slowed. Still, she wasn't done. One evening, as Claire and I were leaving a restaurant, I spotted her waiting near my car. She looked smaller somehow, her makeup smudged, eyes red. When she saw us hand in hand, she stepped forward. "Please, just hear me out," she begged, her voice breaking. I shook my head gently. There's nothing left to say. Her eyes darted to Claire, then back to me. "She doesn't love you like I do. She hasn't been through what we've been through." Claire, ever composed, spoke before I could. "You're right. I haven't been through what you two have. But I love him for who he is now, not who I expect him to be someday." My ex froze, like the wind had been knocked out of her. I could see the realization sinking, and there was no crack, no weakness to exploit. I guided Claire into the car, and we drove off, leaving the past literally standing on the curb. Later that night, lying beside Claire, I thought about how surreal it all was. 6 months ago, I would have given anything for my ex to say she wanted me back. Now, she was practically begging, and all I felt was gratitude, not for her words, but for the fact that I no longer needed them. That's when it hit me. Love isn't proven by who comes back after leaving. It's proven by who never leaves in the first place. And Claire had never left. As Claire and I moved deeper into planning our wedding, life finally began to feel steady again. We were touring venues, tasting cakes, and debating over guest lists. Normal things, beautiful things. Things that belonged to us. My parents adored Claire. My friends respected her. Even my coworkers, who'd seen me dragging through the mud after the breakup, pulled me aside to say how different Olivier looked now. It was like people could see the change on me before I even realized it myself. But just when I thought the past had finally burned out, it flared up one last time. It was a Sunday afternoon. Claire and I were walking through a boutique looking at table settings when my phone buzzed with an unknown number again. Against my better judgment, I glanced at it. The message read, "If you marry her, you'll regret it forever. I know things about her you don't." I showed it to Claire immediately. She read it, laughed softly, and said, "She's desperate. Don't even give it oxygen." But oxygen or not, the stunt came the next day. A long, rambling post appeared on social media. Had written a story painting herself as the victim, claiming I had betrayed her. Yes. That I was marrying someone new out of spite. That I wasn't the person everyone thought I was. She tagged mutual friends, trying to stir doubt, trying to claw her way back into relevance. It's a post spread, of course. Screenshots made their way to me within an hour. Some people messaged to say, "Ignore it." Others asked curiously, "Is it true?" I spoke calmly, directly. I don't usually do this, but since lies are being spread, let me clear the air. 6 months ago, someone told me they needed space to figure out what they wanted. I respected that. I moved on. In moving on, I found someone who truly loves me for who I am. That's Claire. And I won't let anyone rewrite the truth of what happened. I ended the video by saying, if you support me, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But don't mistake my silence for weakness. Our story belongs to me, not to anyone else. The response was overwhelming. Support flooded in, and her post quickly vanished after being buried under comments calling her out. That was the last public stunt she tried to pull. That night, Claire kissed me on the forehead and whispered, "You handled that perfectly." And for the first time in this entire saga, I felt unshakably certain. No ghost from the past could rattle what Claire and I had. Because love built on honesty doesn't need defending, it stands on its own. The morning of our wedding arrived with sunlight pouring through the windows, golden and warm, like even the day itself was giving us its blessing. I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my tie, nerves buzzing in my stomach, not from doubt but from excitement. Today wasn't just a ceremony. It was proof that I'd chosen a future that was truly mine. The venue filled quickly with friends and family, laughter bouncing off the walls. Everyone looked at Claire the same way I did, like she was the center of the universe. When she walked down the aisle, every thought of the past dissolved. All I saw was her. The vows, the rings, the applause, all blurred together into a moment so pure it felt untouchable. But right as we stepped outside for photos, I caught sight of something, or rather, someone standing across the street.
My ex.
She wasn't dressed for the occasion. She stood alone, half hidden behind a tree, watching with an expression I couldn't quite read. Regret, maybe? Or disbelief that I had truly gone through with it. For a brief second, our eyes met. She froze, like she'd been caught somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. Then, without a word, she turned and walked away. No scene, no screaming, just silence. Must have noticed the flicker in my gaze because she squeezed my hand gently. "Was that her?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Yeah, but it doesn't matter." Claire smiled, leaning close. "Good, because you're mine now." And with that, the chapter closed for good. Later that night, as the reception wound down, I found myself standing off to the side, watching Claire laugh with her friends. her eyes glowing brighter than the fairy lights strung overhead. That's when it really hit me. The woman who once asked me to wait while she figured herself out had given me the greatest gift without realizing it. She freed me. Leaving had forced me to grow, to rebuild, to find someone who never doubted if I was enough. I raised my glass silently, not in bitterness, but in gratitude. Because sometimes heartbreak doesn't break you, it builds you. And as I joined Claire on the dance floor, I knew with certainty I wasn't anyone's backup plan. It was exactly where I was meant to be. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.